once I asked my father, who built this university? The university campus is very impressive. So he said, Malviya ji. So as I was 7 plus probably at that time, I told my father I want to meet him. So my father said, okay. He sent him a note to the effect that my daughter wants to meet you.
Madan Mohan Malviya.
Madan Mohan Malviya. So Malviya ji wrote on that, bring her along on a Sunday morning. So my father was on his way to town on a Sunday morning and he took me along and he said, we'll stop at Malviya ji's place, you meet Malviya ji, then I'll drop you home and proceed. So Malviya ji talked to me just as you talk to any other child. Where do you study? What do you like about your school? And so on and so forth. But I had the cheek to say, I want to meet you. And he was very easy and informal about these things. But he had no sense of time. Punctuality is a word that did not exist in his vocabulary. So once he had to go to Delhi to attend some political meeting. He missed the train. He was as usual late. Went to the station, the train had left. So the station master was very kind to me and told him, Malviya ji, Maharaj, don't worry. Viceroy Special will go from here and stop here for refueling. I will attach your compartment to the Viceroy Special. And it will come at such and such time. You'll be here in time. I'll put you on that train. As usual, Malviya ji was late. Viceroy Special came and left. So then...
Keep talking.
Then Malviya ji was wondering what to do. So he told him another train is coming. I will attach your compartment to that and see to it that you reach Delhi. So he made it. Malviya ji used to say in the staff meetings where the law is the king is not the king, and I want to be a real king. So he would come and go as he pleased. He would take decisions as he pleased. No rules and regulations. That was Malviya ji. He was easy and informal and very accessible to everyone. Students, staff, class 4 employees, everyone. He was kindness personified, but no sense of discipline, no sense of time.
Tell me about your memories of Nehru, encounters with Nehru. Did you ever meet Nehru?
No. I only saw him sitting like this. He was sitting in front of me. I was in the first row. And he was reading a letter written by students in blood. So he discouraged that. He said, this is not right. Don't do it again. But he was so pleasant. Just coming from jail, he didn't look like a person who has been to prison for years together.
What year was this, do you remember?
On the university campus.
Banaras Hindu University?
Yeah.
What year was this, do you remember?
This must have been 44, 45.
And what was he dressed as in his sherwani?
He was in a khadi sherwani.
Okay.
And churidar. He was perfectly dressed with a rose in his buttonhole and a smile on his face.
Do you remember what he said? What his speech was? No. Okay. Which of these other great people have you met?
No one else.
Acharya Kripalani.
Acharya Kripalani, Dr. Radhakrishnan as the Vice Chancellor. C.P. Ramaswamy Aiyar was also the Vice Chancellor of VHU. I met him.
Tell me.
He interviewed me for a job and gave me the job.
Who?
C.P. Ramaswamy Aiyar. He was the Diwan of Cochin.
Acha.
And he sent an ambassador to Pakistan. When India became free, he was the Diwan of Cochin, and he sent an ambassador to Pakistan without consulting the central government. He was that independent. C.P. Ramaswamy Aiyar. He was a very strong person.
So Patel made him fall in line?
Huh?
Sardar Patel made him fall in line?
Sardar Patel, my father knew him very well because they had been colleagues in Ahmedabad. My father had worked for Gandhiji in Ahmedabad.
Your father had worked for Gandhiji?
That was an institution started by Gandhiji in which he worked.
Which institution? Not Sabarmati Ashram.
No,
Okay.
not Sabarmati Ashram. This was some Vidyapith or something like that in Ahmedabad.
So your father had met Gandhiji?
Ah, yes, very well. Gandhiji, Patel, and when he went to see Patel, when he came to the university campus, Patel asked him, "Can I do anything for you?" My father said, "No, I don't need anything." Patel was the home minister then.
And your father was a professor
Yes.
in BHU. So you were telling me about Acharya Kripalani, JB Kripalani. What was his temperament like?
What was his?
Temperament, mood.
Baba always angry, snapping at everyone.
Acha. Did he snap at you also?
Not really.
You were too young. What was the thing about him and Nehru? He didn't get along with Nehru.
See, Nehru came from an aristocratic family. He had his own airs about him. And this one was from a very simple background. So he used to think Nehru is responsible for all the miseries of India. That was his outlook.
And when Nehru died, he went very quiet in Parliament.
Huh?
When Nehru died, Kripalani became very quiet.
Very quiet. And somebody asked him, "Dada, nowadays you don't speak up in Parliament." So he said, "Nehru is not there, kisko daan dikhao?"
Tell me about Acharya and Sucheta's courtship.
Huh?
Acharya and Sucheta Kripalani, their courtship.
They were colleagues. Sucheta was teaching in the women's college. Acharya was teaching in the history department of BHU. They had no place to meet, so they used to meet at our place in Banaras.
Oh.
So my mother told Acharya Kripalani, "What is all this going on? Get it over with." He said, "No, I'm her local guardian." My mother said, "I smell something entirely different from local guardianship. And get it over with." So he said, "No, her father on his deathbed told me to look after her. So I'm doing that." And I told you the story about getting permission from Gandhiji.
Please tell it again.
Gandhiji, Acharya Kripalani told Sucheta that if we are to get married, we have to have Gandhiji's permission for the same. And you have to go to Gandhiji and get the permission. So Sucheta went to Gandhiji and told him, "I want to marry Acharya Kripalani." Gandhiji said, "उसका एक पैर कमर में है, तो मुझसे शादी करेगी?" She said, "I prefer to be his widow than to be anyone else's wife." So Gandhiji said, "This marriage will take place, so let it take place." That is the story.
Wow. Sucheta was the chief minister of UP
Yes,
at that time.
yes,
That's a very powerful post.
yes.
What was she like as a person?
She was a very nice person. Very reasonable, very sweet spoken, and very logical. Rational, logical, not like Acharya Kripalani. Very unlike him.
Did Acharya also go to jail?
Very much like all other Gandhians.
And Sucheta also?
Sucheta also. But Sucheta used to do up her room in the jail. She was telling my mother, I always carry a beautiful bed cover and a tablecloth that brightens up the room. So I make my bed with the bed cover and I put the tablecloth on the table. So my room always looks spick and span and bright. This is how she told my mother.
Tell me about that story about how Nehru took that lady for a walk in the garden, जिसकी शादी हुई थी.
Shanti Srivastava got married to a Muslim Congress General Secretary. I don't remember his name. So the Nehru family and the Srivastavas were good friends. Nehrus were invited to Shanti's wedding, but they didn't respond at that time for some reason or the other. So when Shanti came to Delhi after her wedding, she called on the Nehrus and she went to see Nehru. Nehru invited her for breakfast. And while they were having breakfast, Nehru suddenly said, let's go for a walk in the garden for a breath of fresh air.
This is in Teen Murti lawns.
Teen Murti. So they stepped out of the dining room straight into the garden. And when they were walking, Nehru suddenly said, stop. So Shanti stopped and he shook a cigar tree and with hundreds of flowers falling on Shanti, he told her, now let me wish you a very happy married life.
Wow.
That was Nehru. Nehru had a sense of romance.
Do you remember the day Gandhi died? The day he was shot?
Yes. I came back from school, not school, college. 47, 48, college. And everyone was sitting grim at home. So I asked what's the matter. They said Gandhiji has been shot. I was very sad. The whole day, next day, I didn't eat at all. Till Gandhiji's cremation took place.
Where were you?
In Banaras.
What was the mood in the city like?
Very sad. Very, very sad.
People were crying on the streets and all that?
Not exactly crying on the streets, but everyone was in mourning. The whole atmosphere was grim.
What about Subhash Chandra Bose? Did you meet Subhash Chandra Bose?
No. I saw him from a distance.
Was he handsome or what?
Very handsome.
Huh.
Very impressive.
You've seen India from the time before it got independence.
Huh?
How do you think India has done as a nation? As a country, how have we done? What kind of a report card would you give India?
I think India has done well on the whole, but it could have done better if this infighting was done. There's a lot of infighting. And everyone wants to hang on to power and acquire power. So that has been our undoing.
At the time of the freedom struggle, there was a lot of people were willing to go to jail.
Yes.
What was the difference?
That is the difference Gandhiji had brought about. Gandhi had given this feeling that going to jail is a matter of pride and there's nothing wrong with it. And he gave people the courage to stand straight and face these humiliations imposed by the British.
Why don't most people have the courage right now?
Because now everyone wants to enjoy and have a good time, and they think that the struggle is over, now it's time to enjoy life. And when they see people in power enjoying life, they feel jealous of that. And jealousy is our undoing.
What do you think is the biggest danger for India right now?
Infighting. Infighting is the biggest danger. Somebody has to be in power. Instead of cooperating, we try to undo that person and his work. That won't work. That has to change. And we have to understand that we must respect authority and cooperate with authority and not undo what they are trying to do.
But what if the authority is doing the wrong thing? Then what do we do?
Then you protest in a systematic way.
But if you protest, they end up throwing you in jail. If you protest, they end up throwing you in jail. Or they put cases on you. So where can Indians get courage? What is your suggestion? Where can we find the courage to do the right thing?
That is what Swamiji said, Swami Vivekananda, that you have to have faith in yourself. Then only you can do the right thing. And only then you can have faith in God. If you have faith in yourself, then only you will have faith in God. And that will put you on the path to courage.
What is your happiest memory of pre-independent India?
Sarojini Naidu had once come to our school. She recited her poems.
Wow.
That is one thing I remember. She was a great speaker. Very eloquent. Very charming.
What was partition like?
Yeah.
Partition.
Partition was terrible. I was in high school, 1947, and we had to take the high school examination of the UP board. So my mother was very worried, how will we reach the examination center? So when she went to see the principal of the college, she told her, my mother told her, if the bus has stopped and the girls are asked to get out of the bus, what will she do? She won't be able to walk that much. So the principal said, don't worry, I'll keep her in the hostel and take care of her. You send her over to us. So that's how I appeared for my high school examination.
What about Lord Mountbatten and Edwina Mountbatten?
Most impressive. I was really charmed by him. I saw him on the university campus.
Okay.
He once came and he was talking gloriously about the army and armed forces and all. So our Vice Chancellor told him, now let us show you what we civilians can do. He told the students, you people divide yourself in two parts and make a path for him to walk between you. And within a minute the students did it.
He was impressed?
Yes. He was most charming.